Hey there, I'm Tyler and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to show you everything you need to know to install hardwood flooring. In case you wanted to know a little bit more about this particular hardwood floor, this is 2 1/4 inches wide. Are you on there? You gotta be quiet. This is 2 1/4 inches wide, 3/4 of an inch thick. It is a wire brushed matte finish in dark sugar. You don't actually need any specialized tools to do hardwood flooring, but having a flooring nailer will make it go a lot quicker. If you don't have one, you can use a finish or a framing nailer, but you'll have to go slower and be much more careful. What you do need is some underlayment. You can use roofing felt or tar paper. I've used that with great success. Or you can purchase something like this that is a little bit thicker and will help your hardwood floor be a little bit quieter. You will need a stapler to put your underlayment in. If you have unevenness in the subfloor, you'll want a belt sander with a super low grit belt to even all of that out. We are in pretty good shape here. You will need something to cut that hardwood to length. A miter saw makes quick work, but you can use a circular saw. And an oscillating multi-tool makes easy work of some finicky inside corners like over a register. You will need a nailer of some sort, whether it's a finish or framing nailer, or like this is a specialized flooring nailer, just makes it go way faster. Ask your friends, you might be surprised. Then you'll need some random things like a tape measure, pencils obviously, and a chalk line might help. Obviously, you need some hardwood floor, and you will want it acclimated to the room that you're gonna put it in. You'll want it with the boxes open or at least the ends off for 10 to 14 days. You do want to make sure you get all staples up and out of the way and the tack strips off against the wall and all nails pulled so that those foreign objects don't transfer through your underlayment and through your hardwood floor. You do want to make sure that the staples are well embedded in the material so that they don't cause a sort of hump and the hardwood floor isn't down as firmly as it could be. A light tap with the hammer, make sure those are well embedded. Now, that'll only happen with this type of stapler. If you have a hammer stapler where you whack it and it puts the staple in at the same time, you shouldn't have that issue. Go ahead and tap them all in, Ethan. All the way down, put it on the floor, move it this way. Yep, there you go. Tight though. Your first row of wood is the most critical because that is going to set up the entire rest of the room. You saw us measure from the opposite wall and strike a line on this side. Not a very good one because the underlayment is a little bit wavy when there's no weight on it, but it gives us the general idea of where we need to lay this first piece to align up squarely with the other one. Now we can divide that gap between either side of the room, and we want to make sure that we have plenty of expansion and contraction on either side. So you want about 1/2 inch all the way around your room, and this will be covered by the trim later. You don't want too much more than that because as the wood might contract, it might leave a little bit of gap on the sides. Now we obviously can't get our specialized flooring nailer in here, so I'm going to start off the first row with my 18 gauge finish nailer. You can try to tuck these nails up underneath the trim as well. And then we will shoot a line on the tongue just like the specialized nailer would be. But again, you got to be a little bit slower and a little bit more careful with this guy. you ever have nails that don't make it all the way in, take the time to use a punch and get them in so that you can drive your next piece of wood in nice and snug and reduce any gaps. You saw us measure across the room to get square on this side with reference to the other wall. You do also need to make sure the orientation of your joists compared to the way you're going to lay down the hardwood floor. Now, looking at the strip that we've laid down right here, the joists are running towards you and I, so I'm spanning that with the 3/4 inch hickory, and that'll provide a more stable floor. You don't have to do it this way, but it is recommended. Hardwood floors are one of those great experiences where you can never measure and cut once. So we have a piece we need to put right here. I'm going to make sure the tongue of this board is firmly inserted there. And then we have a heat register here, and I am going to mark that out right here, making sure I indicate to myself which side of that line I want the blade on. We can go ahead and make that cut. And look at that, perfect with no measuring. So here we are at the end of the row. Obviously we want our groove up against the tongue, and here is the tongue of our board that needs to go inserted into here. So my never measure, cut once option is to rotate this board so that the tongue is against the wall, and then mark your line here with about a 1/4 inch. Again, making sure you indicate which side of the line you want your blade on. And then when you rotate this back over, the 1/4 inch of the tongue here and the 1/4 inch you gave over here will give you a nice 1/2 inch gap against the wall to allow for expansion. Would you look at that? Perfect. Another little trick is you can kind of tap on an angle, kind of pulling the board towards you to close up this groove right here. So we know the hardwood has a tongue and groove on all 4 sides. We got the tongue on that side and we got the groove on this side. Started everything with the tongue up against the wall and the tongue out. So now everything inserts together like so. And I am using a specialized flooring nailer, which actually uses cleats, as we can see right here. Those bad boys get put in right at an angle in the same place every time, consistently, as long as you're careful that the alignment here is correct and you don't accidentally get the toe up on top there, which can happen, so you just want to be careful.
You better go stand like that.
One of the most important things you want to pay attention to when laying out the floor is that you don't have any joints that are this close. You want a few more inches than that, like you see here, so you don't have any potential for puckering. So in this case, I would grab a short piece like this and start that one out instead. And as you can see, it's going to offset everything very nicely down here, and again, reduce that chance of puckering. You want to put cleats along the board about every 8 to 10 inches probably. Now, if you have a board that you need to force together, like it might be a little bit warped, you won't put more cleats in, but you'll see that as you go. One of the nice things about this flooring nailer and the angle that it shoots the cleat in on is if you don't have this board perfectly tight to begin with, you can whack it harder on the end right there and it'll pull that together. Right here is a great example. I got a staple in on that end, and this end is butted tight right here. But as you can see, this board is a little bit warped, so there is a gap. But as I move along with the nailer, I will tap lightly over here and the nailer will pull that in nice and snug. Perfect. You can use a jigsaw in a less aggressive setting to cut out the pockets for your registers. You don't actually really need to measure anything as long as you have a board where you know the opening is, and then you can just run your blade up along the edge and cut them out. Which is probably a better place to start though.
or for automation, hopefully.
This is a nice tight joint here on top of the hardwood floor. I removed this piece of trim to paint it, but I did not remove the frame of the door. And the way I got that nice and snug is before your hardwood floor is in place, underlayment is down, take a scrap piece of wood and lay it up against your door frame or your trim, and use an oscillating tool, either with a blade like this or a round one, to glide along the top of that scrap board and cut that out, and that'll give you a perfectly snug fit like you see right here. Once you get your final pieces of hardwood flooring, the last pieces are probably the most difficult to make sure you get tight. Once you get that all done, go ahead and slap your trim up to cover that 1/2 inch gap that's all the way around the room. And if you're a person that likes the bead molding along the bottom, go ahead and install that, and then caulk and paint everything for a beautiful finished room like you see right here. That is the benefit of a pre-finished floor, because you can put it down and you are all done. No having to sand or apply finish later on. Well, that is a wrap on this floor, and I hope you guys are prepared and confident to take something like this on your very own. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and you got something from it. Hammer that thumbs up button if you did, because it helps us out. I'm DIY Tyler, and you guys have a good one.